I've met people who spend 40 years earning a living and not 1 year designing a life. They tell me, if only I had started earlier. And I tell them, if only you would start now. The future doesn't belong to the young, it belongs to the intentional. Wealth doesn't ask how old you are, it asks how disciplined you are. The miracle isn't in the years you've lost, it's in the years you've got left and what you're willing to do with them. So, if you're over 40, don't sigh, smile, because now you've got wisdom and willpower, and that's the most powerful partnership there is. Let me tell you something about time. It's a tricky companion. It moves quietly, whether you notice it or not. Most people waste years waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect paycheck. And by the time they finally look up, they realize time has moved on without them. But here's the truth. The best time to start building your future was yesterday, and the next best time is today. You can't go back and make a brand new beginning, but you can start now and make a brand new ending. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is not promised. That leaves you with 1 day of power today. And if you use it wisely, it can change everything. See, the tragedy isn't starting late, it's never starting at all. I've met people who told me, if only I had started investing 10 years ago, I'd be free by now. And I tell them, then start now. So, 10 years from today, you don't say that again. Life doesn't reward the wishers, it rewards the starters. It doesn't matter how small your first step is, what matters is that it happens. I remember when I was broke, not poor in spirit, but broke in the bank, and a wise man said to me, start with what you've got, because what you've got is enough to get started. And he was right. I didn't have much, but I had a notebook, a pen, and a desire to learn. That's where it began. One habit, one book, 1 day at a time. You see, procrastination is the silent thief of dreams. It doesn't shout, it whispers later. And that one word ruins more futures than failure ever could. The difference between the rich and the poor, the free and the frustrated, is not intelligence, it's urgency. The successful don't wait for everything to align. They start before they're ready. They act on opportunity and learn along the way. They know that motion creates momentum, and momentum builds miracles. You don't need to see the whole staircase, you just need to take the first step. So, start where you are. Write down your financial reality, not your fantasy. Be honest with yourself. If you've got debt, acknowledge it. If you've got nothing saved, face it. Because clarity is the foundation of change. Then, start one habit today, not next week, not after the holidays. Save $5, read 10 pages, listen to one lesson on wealth or personal growth. Small seeds grow big trees, but only if they're planted. The real question isn't, can I do it? The question is, will I start? Because once you start, life has a funny way of meeting you halfway. The door only opens for those who knock. So stop waiting for luck, start building discipline. Don't wish for more time, make better use of the time you have. Today is not just another day, it's your opportunity disguised as ordinary. And if you make today count, tomorrow will thank you. Let me share something that changed my life forever. Wealth doesn't come in buckets, it comes in drops. Every fortune you see, every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, they were built one disciplined act at a time. We live in a world that celebrates instant results. But the truth is, real wealth doesn't arrive suddenly, it accumulates. It's the law of accumulation, and it's as predictable as the sunrise. You don't become wealthy by doing one thing 100 times bigger, you become wealthy by doing small things 100 times better. When I started on my journey, I thought success was about one big moment, the deal, the promotion, the breakthrough. But I learned that success is built in silence, in small daily decisions that no one applauds. It's every time you save instead of spend, every time you read instead of scroll, every time you invest instead of impress. These little acts of discipline are invisible at first. No fireworks, no trophies, but they compound quietly, faithfully, until one day they show up as freedom. Think about nature. A tree doesn't grow overnight. You don't see the roots expanding under the soil, but they're working every day. That's how wealth grows. You may not see the results after 1 month or even 1 year, but if you stay consistent, the compound effect starts to work for you. I once heard it said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Those who understand it, earn it. Those who don't, pay it. And that's true. Every dollar you save, every investment you make, becomes a worker that never sleeps, never calls in sick, and never takes a vacation. But you have to send them to work. The secret is consistency, not size. You don't need a fortune to start, you need a formula. Save a fixed percentage every month, even if it's small. Automate it, so discipline becomes effortless. The goal is not to save what's left after spending, but to spend what's left after saving. And when you start to see progress, reinvest, don't reward. Don't celebrate the seed, celebrate the harvest it's growing into. When your money makes money, that's when freedom begins. I remember keeping a simple notebook years ago, tracking my progress every month. I wrote down my savings, my debts, my goals. And at first it felt slow, painfully slow. But then, one day, I realized something incredible. What once felt like sacrifice now felt like strength. I had proof that small efforts were turning into something meaningful. So, review your progress every few months. The law of accumulation doesn't care how fast you move, only that you keep moving. One disciplined act may seem small, but combined with time, it becomes unstoppable. Wealth isn't built in a moment of brilliance. It's built in a lifetime of consistency. So start small, stay steady, and let the quiet power of accumulation work its magic. Because one day, you'll look back and realize the little things weren't little after all. Let me share something most people misunderstand about retirement. They think retirement means quitting work, sitting in a rocking chair, and watching the sun go down. But that's not retirement, that's surrender. The real purpose of retirement isn't to stop working, it's to stop worrying. You see, work is not the enemy, worry is. The goal is not to retire from activity, but to retire from anxiety, from the pressure of living paycheck to paycheck, from the fear that your future depends on someone else's decision. True retirement begins when your money starts working harder than you do. It's not about age, it's about independence. When you have assets that produce income while you sleep, when your bills are paid by systems instead of sweat, that's when you can finally choose how you spend your time. Not because you have to, but because you want to. I tell people all the time, don't dream of quitting work, dream of creating options. Because freedom isn't found in a calendar date, it's found in control. When I was younger, I met a man who looked 50 but lived like he was 25. He told me I never retired from work, I just changed who I worked for. I asked him what he meant, and he said, I used to work for a paycheck, now I work for purpose. That hit me hard. Because most people spend 40 years trading time for money, and then they reach the end and realize they never built anything that pays them back. They chased income instead of building assets. And the moment their work stops, so does their income, and that's not freedom. That's a trap with a time limit. So, here's the shift. Instead of asking, when can I retire? Start asking, what can I build that keeps paying me? Build assets, real ones. Assets that earn while you learn, that grow while you sleep. Maybe it's a rental property that sends a check each month. Maybe it's a digital product that sells without you lifting a finger. Maybe it's an investment account that grows through compound returns. The form doesn't matter, the principle does. Build streams of income that don't depend on your daily grind. And before you start increasing your lifestyle, pay off the anchors, the debts that weigh you down. There's no point filling a leaky bucket. Debt steals tomorrow's freedom to pay for today's impulse. Clear it, and then upgrade not your house, but your habits. And whatever you do, don't stop learning. I've met people at 40 who are finished, not because life stopped giving them chances, but because they stopped growing. Stay valuable. Learn new skills, explore new industries, and adapt to new times. Retirement doesn't mean the end of learning. It means you finally get to learn what you choose. So, rethink retirement. Don't plan to escape work, plan to escape worry. Because the day you don't need to work for money is the day you'll rediscover the joy of working for meaning. There comes a time in life when you realize your greatest treasure isn't stored in the bank, it's stored in your mind. After 40, you've seen things, learned lessons, survived failures, and built habits that money alone could never buy. You've gathered a lifetime of experience. And here's the secret. Experience is equity. The problem is, most people never turn it into something that pays. They bury it instead of banking it. You see, when you're young, you trade time for money because that's all you have. But as you get older, you've got something far more valuable, insight. You know what works and what doesn't. You've made the mistakes. You've faced the disappointments. And you've learned the lessons that others are still paying for. That wisdom has value, not sentimental value, but market value. Someone out there would pay to skip the pain you've already endured. Let me tell you what changed my life. Years ago, I met a man who said, the older you get, the more valuable you become if you package your wisdom. He didn't mean package it in fancy words or motivational slogans. He meant use it, share it, multiply it. Turn your experience into something that creates value for others. He started teaching what he'd learned about sales and business. And before long, his wisdom was earning him more than his old job ever did. That's when I realized age isn't a disadvantage, it's leverage. The challenge is, most people underestimate what they know. They say, oh, I just did my job, or that's nothing special. But to someone who hasn't walked your path, your nothing special could save them years. Maybe you've led teams, built systems, managed crises, or kept a business alive when others failed. Those lessons are gold if you know how to present them. You can consult for companies that need your insight, mentor younger professionals, or even create digital content, courses, books, workshops that turn your experience into income. I often tell people, if you've spent 20 years doing something, you have a 20-year head start on someone else. Don't waste it. You can turn that knowledge into a side business. Start small, test the waters, and let your reputation do the marketing. People pay for certainty, and your experience offers exactly that. But before you can sell your wisdom, you have to document it. Write down your lessons, your principles, the things you wish someone had told you earlier. Make it real. Because wisdom unrecorded is wisdom lost. And when you start sharing, something magical happens. Not only do you create financial value, you create legacy value. Your life starts to matter beyond your own story. So, don't let your experience gather dust, let it gather interest. After 40, you've already done the work, Now it's time to make your work work for you. Turn your experience into equity and let your wisdom become your wealth. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned about wealth is this: it's not the market that makes you rich, it's your understanding of it. Most people don't lose money because the world is unfair. They lose it because they step into games they don't understand. Risk, my friends, doesn't live in the investment, it lives in the investor. The less you know, the more dangerous the game becomes. When I was young, I wanted to make money fast. I jumped into opportunities that sounded exciting, sometimes even magical. Someone said this one will double in a month, and I thought, perfect. But soon I realized when something sounds too good to be true, it's often because it is. I lost not just money, but confidence, until I discovered a simple principle: only invest in what you understand. If you can't explain it to a 10-year-old, you probably shouldn't put your money in it. You see, understanding is the shield that protects your capital. The rich aren't smarter, they're more informed. They take the time to study before they leap. They know what a return on investment means, what cash flow feels like, and how to read the numbers that most people avoid. They don't treat money like a mystery, they treat it like a skill. You have to learn the language of money, because if you can't speak it, someone else will always have to translate it for you. And translators charge a fee. Read books on finance, attend workshops, listen to credible voices, not hype. Every page you read reduces your risk. Every new concept you master gives you confidence. Before you invest $1, invest some time and understanding how the game is played. Let me tell you about a man I knew who invested in a restaurant business. He loved the food, loved the atmosphere, but knew nothing about operations, margins, or overhead. Within a year, it collapsed, not because the food was bad, but because he didn't understand the numbers. Then I met another man who invested in vending machines. He studied logistics, maintenance, placement, and profits before buying a single one. Within 3 years, he owned 50. The difference? Understanding. Wealth isn't luck, it's literacy. Every wise investor asks simple questions. How does it make money? What's the downside? What's the plan if it doesn't go my way? If you can't answer those, you're not investing, you're gambling. And after 40, gambling is a luxury none of us can afford. So start simple. Read one financial book a month. Listen to podcasts that teach, not tease. Study the principles of cash flow, compounding, and risk management. Don't chase returns, chase knowledge. Because when you understand where your money goes, it knows how to come back home. The secret isn't to have money, it's to know money. The better you understand it, the harder it becomes to lose it. I've met people with millions in the bank, but no strength to enjoy a walk by the ocean. I've seen executives with beautiful homes who couldn't climb the stairs without catching their breath. And I've met others with modest income, but they wake up every day with vitality, enthusiasm, and light in their eyes. You see, money buys comfort, but health buys life. Wealth without vitality is just misery with better furniture. After 40, your health becomes your greatest investment account. Every good meal, every hour of rest, every workout is a deposit. Every careless habit, late nights, junk food, unmanaged stress, is a withdrawal. You can borrow against your health in your 20s, but sooner or later, the debt comes due. I learned that lesson when I once ignored balance in pursuit of success. I was building wealth, but depleting energy. My calendar was full, but my heart was empty. That's when I realized it's not what you earn, it's what you sustain that counts. You must treat your body like a business asset. You wouldn't let your most valuable piece of equipment run without maintenance, would you? Exercise isn't punishment, it's preservation. And it doesn't have to be complex. You don't need to climb mountains or run marathons. You just need to move consistently. Walk, stretch, breathe, do something daily that reminds your body you care. Then there's food, fuel for performance, not for comfort. The poor eat to forget, the rich eat to sustain. Every meal is either a healing act or a harmful one. Choose wisely. Eat real food, drink plenty of water, and treat sugar like a luxury, not a lifestyle. You can't build mental wealth on physical weakness. Energy is the currency of achievement, and without it, even the best opportunities slip away. And don't forget rest. Rest isn't laziness, it's strategy. Sleep recharges the mind, heals the body, and renews your will. Burnout doesn't just drain your spirit, it bankrupts your creativity, your patience, and your joy. If you think you can sacrifice sleep for success, remember this: the body collects interest on neglect. Sooner or later, it demands repayment, often when you can least afford it. When you start treating your health like an investment, everything changes. You think sharper, feel stronger, and work smarter. Your confidence rises, your decisions improve, and suddenly, success feels sustainable. Because the truth is, no amount of money can replace a functioning heart, a calm mind, or a body that moves with ease. So, as you plan your financial future, include your health plan in it. Schedule your workouts like meetings. Eat for longevity, not luxury. Rest like it's part of your job, because it is. You can rebuild a business, you can recover from a loss, but you can't buy back vitality. Guard it like treasure, because health, my friends, is the first and truest wealth. When you reach a certain stage in life, you start to realize that the race isn't just about how much you gather, it's about what remains when you're gone. You begin to see wealth differently. It's no longer about accumulation, it's about continuation. The real question isn't, how much did I make? But what did I leave behind? See, the poor leave debts, the average leave memories. But the wise, they leave legacies. Wealth isn't something you own, it's something you manage. You're a temporary custodian of everything you possess. Your money, your time, your talents. And one day, all of it will pass through your hands into someone else's. The tragedy is when people spend their entire lives building wealth only to leave confusion, conflict, or chaos behind. They worked for decades to build something, but never planned how it would continue. That's not stewardship, that's negligence. Leaving a financial legacy means building something that outlives your presence and carries your principles forward. It's not just about property, it's about philosophy. You can pass on dollars, but if you don't pass on wisdom, those dollars will vanish faster than you earned them. Teach your children not just how to spend money, but how to respect it. Show them that generosity isn't loss, it's leverage. The most powerful inheritance isn't in a bank account, it's in the mindset of stewardship and responsibility you instill. When you build wealth, you must think beyond the present, write a will, create a plan, decide where your assets will go, how they'll serve, and who they'll empower. Don't leave that decision to chance or to the courts. A clear estate plan is a gift of peace. It prevents conflict, confusion, and regret. It says, I cared enough to plan ahead. And while you're at it, make giving part of your wealth plan, not an afterthought. Giving disciplines your heart to stay humble, even when your bank account grows. I've met people who had great fortunes but no vision for their wealth. They left behind riches but no purpose. And I've also met people who gave generously throughout their lives, and their names are still spoken with reverence long after they're gone. That's the difference between storage and stewardship. Money stored dies with you. Money stewarded lives forever. Don't just aim to die rich. Aim to live useful. Use your resources to educate, to uplift, to build, create scholarships, fund causes, invest in ideas that make the world better. Because real wealth is not what you take with you, it's what you set in motion before you go. So start now, build wisely, teach intentionally, give consistently. Make sure that when your time comes, your wealth doesn't just say, he had much, but rather, he gave much. Because the true mark of success isn't what you leave to people, it's what you leave in them. Most people underestimate time. They think it's slipping away, when in truth, it's either working for them or against them. Time can be your greatest partner or your most merciless enemy, depending on how you use it. You see, wealth isn't just a product of effort, it's a product of patience. You can't fight time and win, but you can partner with it and prosper. Let me give you something simple, something I learned early that changed the way I looked at money forever. The rule of 72. Take the number 72 and divide it by your rate of return, and you'll know how long it takes for your money to double. If your investment earns 6% a year, it takes 12 years to double. If it earns 12%, it takes 6 years. That's it. It's simple, but it's profound. Because once you understand this, you begin to realize that time isn't the enemy of wealth, ignorance is. When I was younger, I met a man who told me, you don't have to work harder to get rich. You just have to start sooner. And he was right. The earlier you start, the less pressure you put on your future. Most people delay because they think they don't have enough to begin. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect paycheck, the perfect plan, and while they wait, time works against them. Their money doesn't grow, their excuses do. But those who start small, start early, and stay consistent, they win quietly over time. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, they say. It rewards the disciplined and punishes the impulsive. Every time you reinvest instead of spend, time multiplies your decision. Every time you save a little more instead of splurge a little sooner, time magnifies your wisdom. Compounding doesn't care who you are. It only cares when you start and how consistent you stay. I often tell people, the secret to freedom isn't just earning. It's earning early, saving early, and investing early. It's understanding that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, not because it's bigger, but because it has more time to grow. If you start at 40, don't despair. You can still make time your ally. You just have to be more intentional. You may not have youth, but you can have urgency. You may not have time to waste, but you still have time to invest. So learn the math of money. Don't just work for it, make it work for you. Reinvest your interest. Don't spend it on temporary pleasures. Watch how time multiplies your discipline into dividends. The rich don't get richer because of luck. They get richer because they respect time. The rule of 72 isn't just about doubling money, it's about doubling wisdom. Because when you understand how time compounds your decisions, you'll stop chasing shortcuts and start mastering patience. And remember, the best time to plant that financial seed was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. If every dollar you earn depends on your effort, then you're not free, you're just well paid. Too many people spend their entire lives trading time for money, never realizing that they've built a golden cage. It might be comfortable, but it's still a cage. The real freedom begins when your money starts earning while you rest. The goal isn't to work harder for your income. The goal is to make your income work harder for you. Now, let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with labor income. That's where most of us begin. We trade our time, our skills, our sweat for a paycheck. But that paycheck should never be the finish line. It should be the bridge. The bridge that takes you from labor income to investment income. You see, wages will make you a living, but profits will make you a fortune. When I was young, I worked long hours trying to make ends meet. And every time I got a raise, I thought I was improving my life until I realized all I was doing was improving my spending. The more I earned, the more I consumed. I was building comfort, not capacity. And then I learned something that changed my destiny. Every dollar I earn is an employee. I can either spend it and it disappears, or I can assign it a job, to work, to grow, to multiply. That's the philosophy of the wealthy. They don't see money as something to consume. They see it as capital, something to deploy. Every paycheck becomes an opportunity. You earn with your hands so you can invest with your mind. You work today so your money can work tomorrow. You build income streams that flow whether you're working or not. Because the day your income depends solely on your energy, that's the day you stop being free. Start simple. Take 20% of every paycheck and invest it. Don't wait for the extra money. It rarely comes. The discipline is what creates the abundance, not the amount. Learn to buy assets that generate cash flow, stocks that pay dividends, real estate that pays rent, or a business that earns while you sleep. And once you see profits, don't celebrate too soon. Reinvest them. Let your money have children before you start spending the parents. Remember, lifestyle inflation is the enemy of wealth. Every time your income rises, resist the temptation to let your spending rise with it. Instead, let your investments rise. Freedom doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from how much you keep and multiply. So, here's the real question. Are you working for your money, or is your money working for you? If it's still you doing all the work, it's time to shift gears. Convert that labor income into investment income. Turn that effort into equity, because someday your body will want to rest, but your wealth should keep working long after you do. The ultimate goal isn't to stop working because you have to. It's to reach a point where you work because you choose to. That's the difference between surviving and living free. When I was young, I worked hard, really hard. I showed up early, stayed late, and did what I was told. But one day, I realized something. I was trading my life, my time, and my potential for a paycheck that barely moved. That's when it hit me. I was thinking like a worker, not an owner. The worker says, how much do they pay? The owner says, how much can I create? The worker trades hours, the owner trades vision. The worker waits for opportunity, the owner builds it. The truth is, freedom doesn't come from working harder. It comes from owning smarter. You can work 8 hours a day for someone else's dream, or you can start dedicating a few of those hours to building your own. Ownership is not about owning a skyscraper or a big company. It begins with owning your decisions, your ideas, and your direction. When you start thinking like an owner, every choice becomes an investment. Every hour counts towards something you build, not something you're simply paid for. Let me tell you something important. Employees make a living, owners build a life. When you work for wages, your income stops when you stop working. But when you build ownership, equity, systems, assets, your income continues whether you show up or not. That's the power of leverage. That's the power of vision turned into value. Start small, but start intentionally. Maybe it's a side venture, something that allows you to test your ideas, to create a product, a service, or a platform that solves problems. Don't worry if it's small. Even great companies started as tiny sparks of ownership. Or perhaps you can acquire small stakes in other people's ventures Become a partial owner, not just a customer. Invest in ideas that you understand and believe in. You don't need to own everything. You just need to own something. The shift must happen in your mind before it happens in your bank account. Most people ask, how much can I earn? But the wealthy ask, how much can I own? That's a different conversation. Because ownership multiplies, wages don't. Ownership gives you the right to benefit from growth you didn't directly create. It gives you control over your time and choices. It allows your creativity, not your labor, to be the main driver of income. I remember a time when I had a friend who earned a good salary, solid job, steady paycheck, but he spent every dime. No savings, no investments, no ownership. Then one day, his company made changes, and he was out all those years. And he had nothing to show but experience on paper. Another friend, on the other hand, made less money but bought small shares in growing businesses. A few years later, those little stakes paid him more in dividends than his job ever did. That's the difference. One man worked for income, the other worked for ownership. So, start where you are. Build something that belongs to you, even if it's small. Plant your flag in the ground of ownership and water it with consistency. Because one day, when others are still trading time for money, you'll be trading ideas for freedom. And that's the real secret. Not just working for money, but thinking, creating, and owning your way to wealth. Remember, the rich don't ask, what do I earn? They ask, what do I own? Make that your new question and watch your world transform. One of the great tragedies in life is not that people never build wealth, it's that they build it and then lose it. They work hard, they save, they invest, but somewhere along the way, emotion, risk, or neglect wipes out years of progress. You see, it's not just about earning money, it's about keeping it. Anybody can make money once. Discipline is what ensures you can keep it for life. And that's where most people fail. They forget that protection is part of prosperity. I've met people who made a fortune but lived as if it would never end. They took on debts, skipped insurance, made risky investments, and told themselves, I'll be fine. Until one small storm came and the house came tumbling down. Remember, the same rain that waters the crops can also destroy the harvest if you're not prepared. You can't control the weather, but you can build a roof strong enough to handle the storm. That's why I say, protect what you build. You've worked too hard to have it vanish overnight because of carelessness or pride. The disciplined person doesn't just chase opportunity, they build security. Create safety nets for your finances. An emergency fund, for example, isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Life has a way of testing our preparation. A job loss, a medical bill, a market drop, any of these can knock the unprepared off their path. But if you've set aside 6 to 12 months of living expenses, you're not forced into panic, you're positioned with power. You get to make choices from calm, not crisis. Insurance is another shield of wisdom. Many people see it as an expense. I see it as protection for peace of mind. Health insurance guards against medical ruin. Life insurance protects your family's future. Asset insurance shields your property from disaster. Don't buy these things out of fear, buy them out of wisdom. The goal is to safeguard what you've already built so you can keep building. Then there's diversification, the golden rule of wealth preservation. Never put all your eggs in one basket. No matter how shiny that basket looks, markets change, industries collapse, and trends fade. Spread your investments across different assets, real estate, stocks, businesses, and even cash reserves. That way, if one sector struggles, the others can carry you through. The rich don't rely on luck, they rely on structure. But beyond financial tools, there's another danger: emotion. Fear and greed are the two thieves that rob more people than taxes ever could. Fear keeps you from taking opportunities. Greed makes you take too many. Both destroy wealth. That's why discipline matters. Protecting what you've built is not just a financial act. It's a mindset. It's about saying, I've worked too hard to risk it all on impatience or ego. So, build with boldness, but protect with wisdom. Every dollar, every investment, every decision deserves your attention and care. Because real wealth isn't just what you earn, it's what you preserve. The goal is not to build fast, it's to build strong. Remember, anyone can make money once, but it takes discipline, foresight, and wisdom to keep it for a lifetime. One of the greatest lessons life will ever teach you is that success is never a solo act. You can work hard, you can study, you can plan, but if you partner with the wrong people, all your effort can vanish in a moment. I've seen it too many times. Two people start a venture together, full of dreams, excitement, and handshake promises. A few months later, miscommunication, mistrust, or misaligned values turn the dream into a disaster. The wrong partner can destroy decades of discipline. The right one, though, the right one can multiply your wealth overnight. You see, partnerships magnify whatever is already there. If there's honesty, it multiplies trust. If there's greed, it multiplies conflict. That's why you must be intentional about who you align yourself with. In business, in friendship, even in marriage. Choose partners based on values, not convenience. It's tempting to say yes to someone because they have resources, connections, or charm. But money without morals is a ticking time bomb. A shared vision without shared integrity will eventually tear itself apart. When I was younger, I made the mistake of choosing people for what they could do, not who they were. And I learned the hard way, skill can impress you, but character sustains you. Find people who do what they say, who take responsibility when things go wrong, who give credit when things go right. The right partner won't just help you make money, they'll help you make meaning. They'll remind you of your purpose when temptation whispers shortcuts. Always put clear agreements in writing. I can't tell you how many friendships have ended because one side said, I thought you meant this, and the other said, I assumed you knew that. Handshakes build goodwill, but contracts protect it. Writing things down doesn't show mistrust. It shows maturity. It turns assumptions into clarity, and clarity prevents chaos. Now, about sharing profits. Be fair. When people feel cheated, even a good deal turns sour. When people feel appreciated, even a small profit feels like a win. Transparency keeps relationships alive. Talk openly about money, about expectations, about timelines. Hidden agendas are the termites of partnerships. They quietly eat away until the foundation collapses. But beyond money, partnerships are about energy. Ask yourself, does this person lift my energy or drain it? Do they think abundance or scarcity? Do they talk solutions or problems? Because every person you walk with is either a weight or a wind. Some will pull you down into drama, others will push you upward into destiny. You can't soar with people who are content crawling. Remember, you don't just need partners who share your goals, you need partners who share your standards. Wealth built with the wrong people becomes a burden. Wealth built with the right people becomes a blessing. So, take your time. Evaluate deeply. Because sometimes the smartest financial decision you'll ever make is not who to work with, but who not to. There's a powerful truth about learning that most people overlook. You only truly master what you can teach. The moment you begin explaining a principle to someone else, you realize how deeply you understand it. Wealth works the same way. The best way to secure your financial future is to help someone else build theirs. When you teach, you reinforce your own habits. When you share wisdom, you multiply understanding. That's how knowledge becomes legacy. I often tell people, if you want to know whether you've really learned something, try explaining it to a teenager. Because when you teach your children about money, not just how to earn it, but how to respect it, you're not only shaping their future, you're protecting yours. You see, financial literacy is generational insurance. You can pass down dollars, but if you don't pass down discipline, those dollars disappear. I've met families who built fortunes only for the next generation to lose it because they never learned the principles that created it. It's not the inheritance that sustains wealth, it's the instruction. So make it a ritual. Once a month, gather your family and talk about money. Not in fear, not in secrecy, but in education. Discuss savings, spending, giving, and investing. Let your children see how money moves, how it grows, and how it serves. If you're a parent, let them see both your wins and your mistakes, because they'll learn more from your scars than from your speeches. If you're not a parent, mentor someone younger, someone who's just getting started, who's trying to understand how the world of money really works. Be the person you wish you had when you were starting out. When you share, don't just talk about numbers, talk about principles. Talk about patience, discipline, generosity, and delayed gratification. Because wealth isn't just built by income, it's built by mindset. Teach them the value of saving before spending, of investing before indulging, of creating before consuming. Show them how compounding isn't just a financial principle, it's a life principle. What you do consistently, not occasionally, determines your outcome. Now you might say, but I'm still learning myself. Perfect. That's the best time to teach. Teaching forces you to stay sharp, to stay curious, to stay accountable. Every time you explain a concept, you deepen your own understanding. Every time you mentor someone, you revisit your foundation. You'll be amazed how much clarity comes from guiding others. Turn your wealth journey into a teaching legacy. Write down what you've learned, your methods, your mistakes, your moments of breakthrough. Imagine someone reading your words 20 years from now, learning from the paths you walked and the pitfalls you avoided. That's wealth that never depreciates. Remember this, money can vanish, but wisdom compounds. When you teach wealth, you don't just help others, you secure your own understanding, strengthen your discipline, and plant seeds that grow long after you're gone. That's how financial freedom becomes generational. Ignorance is the most expensive thing you'll ever pay for, and most people pay it for life. Every financial mistake, every missed opportunity, every bad investment has its roots in one simple cause, a lack of understanding. The marketplace doesn't reward emotion, it rewards education. And that's why one of the most important disciplines you can develop, especially after 40, is the daily education of your financial mind. Most people stop learning after school, and that's where the real danger begins. They spend decades working for money without ever learning how money works. They understand their job, but not the system that pays them. And as a result, they stay stuck, earning, spending, surviving, but never truly free. You can't command what you don't comprehend. You can't master what you don't study. So the goal is to study money until it becomes your servant, not your master. I remember early in my journey, I thought the secret was to earn more. But then I met a man who said, if you want to have more, you must first become more. And becoming more meant learning more about money, business, and people. I began reading every book I could find on finance, wealth creation, and personal development, I realized wealth isn't mysterious, it's methodical. It follows principles that anyone can learn, but few take the time to. Now, it doesn't take hours a day, you don't need a degree in economics or finance, just 30 minutes a day of intentional learning. Read a chapter from a good book. Listen to a podcast from a credible investor. Watch one educational video that teaches strategy, not hype. The goal isn't to consume random information, it's to build financial intelligence. Every lesson compounds, just like money does. Over time, your understanding sharpens, your decisions improve, and your results follow. But remember, wisdom isn't in what you know, it's in what you apply. Don't just study, implement. If you learn about budgeting, make one. If you learn about investing, start small. If you learn about debt management, take action immediately. The smallest application of a principle is worth more than the biggest stack of unread books. And be careful where you get your education. Follow successful investors, not loud influencers. Real success leaves clues, humility, patience, and long-term thinking. Watch how disciplined people move, how they think about risk, how they speak about money. You'll notice something: they don't chase money, they study it. They let money come to them because they've earned the understanding to manage it well. Make it your mission to become a lifelong student of wealth. Keep a notebook of lessons, quotes, and financial insights. Revisit them often. Let your curiosity grow stronger than your comfort, because the day you stop learning is the day your wealth stops growing. When you educate your financial mind daily, you become impossible to deceive, too wise to waste, and too focused to fail. That's when money stops being a mystery and starts becoming a mirror of your wisdom. You know, as I bring this message to a close, I want you to pause for just a moment and think, really think, about where you stand today. Life has this interesting way of sneaking up on us. One day you're in your 20s thinking you have all the time in the world, and before you know it, you're 40, 50, maybe 60, wondering where all that time and all that potential went. But here's the truth. It's never too late to start smart, to start today, and to build wealth that gives you freedom tomorrow. Wealth isn't about luck, and it's not about timing. It's about philosophy, discipline, and the daily choices you make. Every dollar you earn has a destiny. It's either going to work for you or disappear in the noise of consumption. Most people live in a cycle of earn and spend, and they call that living. But real living begins when your money starts earning for you, when your assets work while you rest, when your time is finally your own. But that doesn't happen by accident, it happens by intention. The difference between those who live paycheck to paycheck and those who live in freedom isn't income, it's mindset. Poor thinking says, I'll start when I have more. Wealthy thinking says, I'll start now with what I have. The greatest danger isn't starting too late. It's never starting at all. So wherever you are, start now. If you're behind, that's fine, but don't stay behind. You can't control your past, but you can always rewrite your future. When I was a young man, I worked hard, too hard, but not smart. I thought activity was achievement. But then I learned that it's not how much you do, it's what you do with what you have. That one shift changed everything. I began to focus on growth, not grind. On systems, not struggle. On wisdom, not just work. And that's what I want for you. You've got the experience, the maturity, the lessons. Now you just need the focus and the consistency to turn them into financial freedom. Don't let fear keep you comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Don't let regret chain you to yesterday. Use it as fuel for tomorrow. The only real failure in life is refusing to act on what you know. You've heard the principles: save, invest, learn, create, and teach. But now it's time to move beyond knowing into doing. Every habit you start today, every investment you make, every book you read, every mindset you upgrade, all of it becomes the foundation of your future. So my challenge to you is simple. Make a decision tonight, not someday, tonight. Decide that this is the moment you stop working only for money and start working for purpose. Decide that this is the season you stop living by chance and start living by design. Decide that this is the chapter where you take back your time, your finances, and your future. And when you do, something powerful happens. The world begins to open doors for those who move with conviction. Opportunities appear for those who are prepared. And life, in its wisdom, begins to reward those who finally decide to act. Start smart. Start today. Build wealth, not just for comfort, but for contribution. Because the goal isn't just to make a living, it's to design a life that outlives you.